Howdy, folks. Hope you're doing okay. Just a quick one. My phone's about to die. I am in the bus, but I can't really do a show tonight, unfortunately. We've had a little bit of an emergency here on the property, and the emergency is currently sitting in there. I'll try and give you a little peek. Oops. There you go. Did you get to see? I have a baby wallaby that has essentially wandered up and said, I need help. So there is no mum. We've been looking for mum. So thankfully, I've been a wildlife carer on and off for many years. So I've got a bit of an understanding of what I'm doing here. And I've been on to some folks who do this on a more full-time basis. And I have all the appropriate accoutrements. I've just got back from the vet. So tonight I'm looking after a baby wallaby. And please God, she survives the night. She's a she. And just tried giving her a bottle, her first bottle, and she's taken a bit of it, but it's a new experience. At the moment, a bit hard to gauge age, but somewhere between 6 and 8 months, I'd reckon. Or 5 and 8 months maybe. And she's very strong. She's a climber, but right now, wrapped up in my shirt and being quite warm. So can't help tonight, unfortunately. I can speak to what a great day it's been in the gold markets. I haven't got the screen up right in front of me now, and as I've got a busted wing on one hand and holding the phone with the other, I can't bring it up. But last time I looked, the price for an ounce of gold was $4,240 something dollars, and still rising. The price of silver was 52 and a half, I think, and on the rise. I haven't been back to look in a couple of hours, but that market is still moving overnight, and it is showing no signs of slowing down. Why is the gold market going mad and the silver's not? Well, it's not five banks well, maybe you didn't get that in last night's broadcast. Five banks yesterday made the discovery, if you like, that they have shorted silver to the tune of 708 million ounces. Now, that will cost them trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars to try and buy what they owe, essentially, or try and buy the silver that they need to back their banks, their stocks, and everything else. It's not going to happen. Well, that list has grown today from 5 to 8 banks. And there has been a distressed, I think we'd call it, a distressed message put out by somebody in the financial markets, works for one of the big banks, saying, what the hell are you doing? You're going to destroy the system doing this. You know, they've been shorting silver for years, and if you're going to make them pay for it, every bank will close. Well, that's exactly right, and that is the goal. Nasara Jasara cannot work if the fiat financial system is still working. So that is one of the significant issues that we are all facing, and over the next few weeks, apparently it's all going to become clear to us. We shall see. I don't know. So, yeah, that's the story so far with gold and silver. All I can tell you is buy. If I had the money, I would be off doing it right now. But I think silver is going to bounce and bounce hard. When? Who knows? But I would expect sooner rather than later. Gold is working very, very hard, and of course talk of war in the Middle East continues with Iran and Israel essentially telling lies to each other, I think. Iran is trying to convince the world they did huge damage. Israel is trying to convince the world they did huge damage to Iran in the attacks that they put forward a couple of days ago. Battle damage assessment doesn't indicate that's the case at all. It indicates that the Israelis got flogged, that the defense systems inside Iran are much, much better and many, many, many-fold greater in number than the Israelis, who apparently know everything, knew. There are 144 jets were on that initial mission. I'm not sure exactly how many of them got back. Certainly, Israel is claiming huge amounts of success, but they fired thousands of missiles, thousands of ballistic missiles, missiles from aircraft, all sorts of different things. And there were 6 sites hit in Iran. And the sites that they hit didn't look to be terribly special sites, put it that way, at all. So is the world being played, or is Iran and Israel trying to play each other? I know Iran will be trying to protect itself. Israel will be trying to drag America into that war because they've just discovered they can't take on Iran without America. That's a big, big thing for them to discover. It'll be a painful thing for them to discover. But they'll need to drag America into this fight if they're to win it. And what does Israel usually do when it can't win by a full-scale mission or attack like they had a few days ago? They'll start assassinating leadership. Keep that eye peeled in Iran. Whether they take out the Khomeini, that could be, well, that would certainly fire up the war, and it would certainly drag America into it. Does Iran actually have a nuclear weapon? Don't know. It's going to be interesting to try and work out those machinations. Does Israel have a nuclear weapon? Well, everybody's pretty much assured that they have not one, but many. And could this extensive loss that I think they've suffered be enough of a catalyst for them to try and wheel one of those out? And if they do, will that be the time where we discover that none of the nukes work, like we've been told? So that's a possibility too. I guess I probably could have... No, actually, I don't know that I could have set the show up on the computer at the moment. This little thing's moving around a fair bit. I've got a feeling now that we've just given it a taste, it's going to want the rest of its feed. So... haven't given it a name yet, don't bother asking, but if she lives through the night, and there's no guarantee that she will, she's very young. She's a very, very tiny Joey. So hopefully I'll get a few pictures up tomorrow. When she's up and about moving, she has very, very fine bones. I don't think her skeleton is up to really carrying all her weight yet. Certainly not up to hopping around, I don't think. She's not hugely active that way. She walks, and she's a great climber, but very young. And you know what it's like with very young, particularly mammals. They can be very hard to care for. You can do everything for them, and right now we'll be on probably 3 to 4 hour feeds, I would say. Just depending how much of this next little bit she takes, we'll be on 3 to 4 hour feeds. So tomorrow morning, hopefully, when the sun lights up, she has a little bit of life in her and whatnot, we can show you. But for those of you that are concerned, please don't be. I have done a lot of wildlife training over my years for various different things. Probably, first of all, started out with reptiles so that I could rehab reptiles and release them. And I didn't really go out and find broken reptiles. What happened was I'd turn up at people's places and find snakes they'd taken from the bush and decided to keep as pets. And in many, many cases, those through ignorance more than anything, those snakes had been treated very poorly. They'd been put in enclosures that weren't safe for them, and they were grating their faces off as they were trying to get close to a heat lamp that was surrounded by very fine chicken mesh, and they were grating. Well, one of the pythons was grating its face off. Absolutely horrendous. So yeah, I took my daughter, I took that snake, and I took the cupboard that it was in, because they'd turned it into something of an enclosure for it, and said that if I ever had the misfortune of meeting them, any of them ever again, life would take a decidedly worse turn. But anyway, the snake Didn't quite have the outcome I was hoping for after spending a lot of money and taking it to probably one of the best herpetologists in Australia, if not the best herpetologist in Australia. He made it pretty clear that after he shed it, I think it was 5 times in a week, in 7 days or 8 days, uh, that's done by giving a snake a vitamin B injection from memory. It will induce a shed immediately, and this snake was so damaged he shed it 5 times to try and get its skin back to clear, and it looked like it was going to survive, but 2 or 3 weeks later it woke up dead, so to speak. So that happens, and it happens with these little mammals too. If this little one hasn't got enough colostrum from its mum yet, then the likelihood of me being able to save it isn't high. Uh, I've got all the right food here for it, although it's not mum's milk, but it's as good as we can get as a replacement. She seems quite happy. She's taken maybe 10 mils in the last half an hour or so, and she's curled up now and gone to sleep. So I'm thinking she's reasonably happy. One of the interesting things, if you don't know about caring for a little wallaby or a little kangaroo, is toileting is very important because they have no fur or very, very little. It's more like a velvet that they're covered with, and this one is right at that just sort of growing velvet stage. So it's important that urine burn doesn't happen, and to that end, you try not to let it toilet in, well, where it's sleeping. So if you've made up a little pouch for it, you don't want it toileting in there because the urine will burn it and potentially can kill them overnight. So how do you make a kangaroo or a wallaby pedal on demand? Well, in this case, being a female, you tickle her cloaca. Doesn't that sound like a mouthful? But I'll be out doing that shortly, little cloaca tickling. And that triggers them to have a wee. And as long as she does that outside of her pouch, I'll be very happy. So with a little bit of luck, I won't interrupt her because I think she has gone to sleep down here. I keep looking down just to make sure she's still breathing, and I can see my T-shirt rising and falling. Or maybe that's my breath. No. She's a strong little fighter. I won't give her a name until tomorrow. I've already picked a name, but I might have to change that. But I won't give her a name yet. We'll see how she goes. It's going to be a long battle. If you've never cared for a little wallaby or a little kangaroo or anything like that before, and especially one this age, it's a very large commitment. It's like having your own baby. And these little ones usually stay with their mums until they're about 18 months old. So, all things being equal in a beautiful world, I might have a new pet. Not a pet, be free to go, and we've got 134 acres here for it to go on. But we're a few months away from anything like that, and probably 1 or 2 battles between now and then health-wise. So, say a few prayers for the little wallaby, if you would please, folks. We've had so much misery on this property in the last month or so. It would be so good to bring some life back. So I really hope we can do that for this little one. Look at me getting all sooky about a wallaby. So cute. And you'll agree too when you see her. If you've only had a little bit of a look here, but I'll show you tomorrow. I'll show you the rest. So I'm sorry for tonight. I just need to keep an eye on this little one and try and get a bit more food into her. I've got a sneaking suspicion I'll be up all night, which is okay. You might find that if she gets a bit active in the middle of the night, we might do a little live then, but it'll be there for you in the morning if that happens. But yeah, I'm very keen to make sure that we give this one the best start we possibly can. Bit like I'm trying to give humanity. We all are trying to give humanity. I had an interesting chat today with Derek Ballard. There's been an interesting case last week in Melbourne. There seems to be a couple of different schools of thought of whether or not that was a win, a loss, or a draw. We'll talk about that next week. There is further legal movement going forward, and Derek has released another video, I think yesterday. He may be doing another one today, where he tries to explain the work he's put in on exposing our court system. The court system, as we know, is completely controlled. From what I can see, and Derek wasn't able to explain to me exactly today how this is a solution, but I'm intrigued to find out how this could be a solution going forward. I don't know that it's going to be a short-term solution. I think it's more a taking numbers, names, and cataloguing the decisions at this stage, but I could be wrong. We'll talk more about it, I think, next Tuesday night. I've said I'll have a talk with him. And, of course, Darren Bergwerf is on a similar path. Different, but similar. And they seem to come at it from opposite directions, and there's been a bit of argy-bargy between the two, so to speak. I don't think it's going to be a big problem. I hope it's not. We will compare, contrast, and until somebody provides me a solution that involves an enforcement arm, I think any discussions are pretty much moot. Because the courts will do what they want, as the court did last Friday in Melbourne. The court will do what it wants. The federal court judge believes he can do anything he wants. It's his court. That should tell you something, folks. The judge's court is never his court. It is the people's court. But the judge seems to think he can do whatever he likes. Sadly, that is the case until we get police, military, an enforcement arm that will support the people when they bring these charges of illegality forward. Sooner rather than later. Is Derek got a solution for that? I'm not seeing it. But then again, I'm not seeing it from anybody else either. Have yourself a good night, folks. Be safe on the roads. Stay away from the dickheads and say a prayer for this little one for me. Cheers.